As you travel through the darkly lighted streets of medieval Europe, you can't help but feel uneasy. Every shadow appears to conceal a criminal, and every sound may be a trap. We'll take you on a tour through the dark realm of medieval crime, where theft, murder and deception were commonplace. But be warned, life as a criminal in the Middle Ages was far from glamorous, and the punishments were severe. So get ready to see the dark side of history. Kidnapping. The abduction of aristocrats in particular was so common as an occurrence in the Middle Ages, and it was a source of cash due to the large ransoms that could be demanded for their return. Captured kings, dukes and knights were frequently released only when their subjects or loved ones paid the appropriate price. Ransom was also used in tournament melees, where kings fought each other with blunted lances and swords for honor and the entertainment of the spectators. If a knight was taken and disarmed, he would be required to provide his word that his ransom would be paid swiftly before being allowed to leave the field. Murder. In times of plague and conflict, murder was prevalent, and much of it was performed by people forced to steal for survival. As with other laws of the time, the punishment was death, because prisons did not exist for the most part, though dungeons were extensively employed for temporary confinement while trials were pending. And trials did take place, presided upon by crowned representatives. His Majesty permitted a trial by battle on rare occasions, with two noblemen accused each other of a heinous crime. Only when one knight had won and the other had died, the king allowed the spectators to celebrate their victory. Embezzlement. In the medieval era, precise accounting practices were just beginning to take root. The church employed clerics or clerks who kept account of the large sums coming in from their different land holdings, tithes and donations from wealthy parishioners. Similarly, nobles wanted to know how much money they needed to collect for the costly battles they were waging. Horses, weaponry, armor, ships, food and soldiers' salary might all be exorbitantly priced, and if there was shoddy bookkeeping, it wouldn't have been difficult to steal some of those coins. The only thing keeping it from becoming more widespread was the dread of execution by legal edict or damnation by the church. Theft. In the 14th century, because no one had pockets, people carried their coins around in purses strapped to their waists. Those money-laden sacks were appealing targets for criminals who used sharp knives to separate them from their owners, just like pickpockets do today with purses and backpacks. Simony. Each party was guilty of simony of priests, bishops or cardinals offered church advantages or offices to someone who gave them money. When he composed Inferno in the 14th century masterpiece, The Divine Comedy, Dante sentenced those who committed it to the 8th circle of hell. Bribery. For the most part, bribery was just a way of life in the Middle Ages. A few extra coins were the surest method to receive better treatments from a nobleman or government official. Traveling in medieval times may be fairly expensive unless you were ready to make your way as a poor pilgrim. Many trolls were collected at city gates and bridges to allow traders and merchants to traverse with their merchandise. Greasing the proper palms was all that was required to get contraband through. Of course, collectors abused the authority if they thought someone might be pressed for more money. Thus, it was a desirable post. Price gouging. After the Black Plague killed more than a third of all the people in Europe, there was a severe labor shortage. For the first time, peasants had bargaining power and could take their employment to a higher-paying lord. It was the first fracture in the centuries-old feudal structure, and the nobles despised the loss of power over their serfs. Among other rulers, the monarch of England declared that anyone attempting to sell their work at a higher price than authorized by the law was guilty of price gouging. Violators faced a variety of punishments, including an uncomfortable spell in the pillory and having their wrists and head bound in a wooden contraption that allowed other villagers to pelt them with rotten fruit and other vile stuff. This type of treatment sparked numerous violent peasant rebellions in the latter half of the century, eventually bringing the feudal system to an end. Excommunication. The church meted out this punishment for a variety of sins: blasphemy, heresy, hitting or attacking a church official, simony, and apostasy are only a few of the possible offenses that warranted excommunication. Excommunication, whether done justly or unjustly, would devastate one's life in medieval times, and persons became pariahs unable to engage in practically any area of communal everyday life, and ostracized by everyone they knew. Thank you for watching. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please like it and subscribe to our channel for more historical insights.